Chapter 856. Moments later, a massive explosion erupted from where Hosanna had been. It was no ordinary explosion. It was the aftermath of a cataclysmic release of energy, all the power that had been contained within the body of one person, one awakener, bursting forth in an instant. Either, who had been closest to the blast, was thrown violently by its shockwave. After tumbling a few times, he lay there, battered, as hailstones now beyond his control poured down upon him. His ears rang, a persistent tinnitus echoing in his head. His vision flickered relentlessly, darkness encroaching. Despite the overwhelming pain, a fierce determination not to fall here drove him to weakly move his limbs. After the hailstorm had finally ceased, Either, clutching his sword, used it to push himself up from the ground, staggering to his feet. He had to see with his own eyes what had just happened. Taking deep breaths, he opened his eyes wide. Now he could clearly see the landscape before him. Where Hosanna had just been, a significant expanse of land was now cratered as if a giant boulder had struck it. The ground was covered in dark blood-red stains. A crimson earth, not a single hair to be found. Either quickly realized what this meant. His last attack had undoubtedly pierced Hosanna, but Hosanna must have managed to use his ability in the final moment. Had Hosanna fallen without a chance to use his ability under Either's attack, the aftermath would have been different. At least the bodies of Hosanna and Nahan, the two foes, would have remained at the site of the attack. But the utter lack of even a fragment of bone in this blasted landscape meant that Hosanna had managed to use his power at the last moment, causing his body to be torn apart instantly and completely. Previously, his movements had not been his own will, but more a result of being swept up in the overwhelming surge of power. However, this last act was different. Hosanna had clearly intended to use all his strength to send Nahan somewhere else. Thus, Either's prediction that Hosanna would explode and die the moment he used his ability had come to pass. The most crucial evidence supporting this hypothesis was the absence of Nahan's body in the bloody crater. Even if swept away by the explosion, there should have been some trace of him, but there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Either gazed into the empty pit, exhaling a trembling breath. Despite his hopes not to be too late, he had failed to stop Hosanna effectively. The explosion hadn't been as powerful as it could have been, probably because he had almost simultaneously struck and cut off Hosanna's air supply. But everything else had gone beyond his expectations. No, it wasn't just a deviation, it was almost akin to a failure. Either couldn't be certain whether Nahan was truly dead. Not only that, but he also had no idea where Nahan's body might have been blown to. He had heard Hosanna mutter something about southern lands, but could he really have sent someone else that far away, excluding himself? With some luck, the ability might not have fully activated at the last moment, and Nahan might be found near here. But if not, the only certainty was that he had no capacity to immediately search and confirm this in the current situation. Sighing heavily, Either exhaled a breath thick with the stench of blood. Gritting his teeth, he tightly gripped the handle of his sword, then relaxed his hold. A wave of immense emptiness washed over him, but his emotions remained steady beyond that. He was all too familiar with desperate situations. In fact, the smooth progress up to now had been the anomaly for Either Ale. Feelings of anger and frustration were far more familiar to him. Anyway, the aftermath of the explosion was smaller than I expected. It must be due to the simultaneous release of Hosanna's and my powers. At least, it seems, there were no casualties among us. Kishir too. Kishir, The thought that he needed to return to where Kishir was only then occurred to him. Either attempted to turn around but stopped as the cavalry members rushed in, surrounding him. Either, fortunately, there were no severely injured among them. Kana, who had arrived first, scanned Either from head to toe with a pale face. The others too were shouting incomprehensibly, their gestures filled with shock and confusion. Your clothes, your body, your face. Only then did Yidhi realize that his limbs and clothes were soaked in a dark, blood-red liquid. It was the residue of Hosanna's explosive demise. Blood dripped from his clothes and hair, covering him from head to toe. Not all of it was his own, but to others it must have looked horrific. Good heavens! Someone go and kidnap any priest! It's fine, I don't need a priest. Start organizing the area and preparing for a search. What? What are you talking about? Hosanna, in his last moment, used his power to send Nahan somewhere. If we are lucky, he will be nearby. But if not, we might never find him. The others seemed bewildered, not fully understanding Yudhir's words. But Kana was different. She grasped the unsaid implications in Yudhir's brief statement. Do you think Nahan might not be dead? Maybe. But Yudhir, to me, it seemed like he was dead. Even considering Hosanna and Nahan's extraordinary abilities, that's... Unable to finish her thought, Kana blinked her eyes tightly. No, I understand. It will become clearer once we gather more information. Alright, we will do it your way. Yudhir? Yudhir, where are you going? Yudhir lacked the strength to respond to his comrades. Staggering, he shrugged off their attempts to help and turned away. His destination was, of course, where Kishir was. Realizing Yudhir's intent, his comrades tried to follow and support him. But Yudhir shook his head, refusing their help, and continued to walk alone. See, at this point, if cavalry doesn't realize that Kishir and Yudhir are together and are in love with each other, they are so freaking dumb. He had worried that Kishir might have been caught in Hosanna's blast, but fortunately, Kishir seemed to be unharmed from the explosion just now. 2 cavalry members were supporting him. The man who had been waiting where Yudhir had told him to stay now slowly approached. There were only one red eye, sunken so deeply that it looked pitch black. Not 2 as usual. Seeing the man, whose handsome face was half covered in blood, standing with one eye closed, Yudhir felt a sharp pang in his heart, and the sharp anger he had felt earlier surged anew. How could this ever be called love? The moment their faces met, Yudhir felt an overwhelming sense of relief mixed with pain, anger, and an unbearable restlessness. All these emotions converged. Looking at Kishir's wounds, Yudhir slowly opened his mouth. In the end, I failed to make the right move. I'm sorry. ... I couldn't stop Hosanna by a narrow margin. It seems he might have sent Nahan somewhere in his final moment. A search will be necessary. ... The explosion was smaller than expected. But there might soon be a reaction from the cracks. We need to hurry and join forces with Sir Zakarman to prepare. ... Kishir's gaze drifted past Yudhir's head towards the sky. After a moment, he spoke. The flame you released at the end. ... Did you make a choice? The words were vague, yet Yudhir understood what he meant. It was also clear that Kishir, having witnessed Yudhir using a power he should not have been able to in those final moments, knew as well. As expected, even if he could deceive anyone else, he couldn't deceive Kishir's eyes. Yudhir slowly nodded. Kishir closed his eyes. From a distance, a rumbling sound began to echo. Fuck! Please, let me, Isakai. I will go there. I will fight these monsters. I don't care. I want these 2 to have the rest. Please, Trucken or anybody,